I started fishing in 1972. It's more than just a job. It's a calling. It's a way to feed people. Between farming and fishing, we're what founded this country. We've worked hard. It's been generations of people working hard to preserve the industry, to make sure that their children are going to be able to fish as well. My son's been doing this. He used to go fishing with me when he was 8 years old. I brought him up knowing you have to take care of your fields, basically. You can't sow weed seeds in your garden and expect to have a good produce. You can't do it out here. You can't litter in the ocean. You can't disrespect it, or you hurt yourself. You hurt your future. You hurt your children's future. With many, many families, it's generational. They learn it on the boat. They learn respect for themselves, respect for the ocean, respect for others, respect for hard work. After 50 years of fishing and knowing that, learning that, living that, that's why I'm here today, because I see this as an existential threat to the fishing industry, to the ability to feed our own people. We have to care for the resource that we have. We have to try to improve it. That's the scary thing about the offshore wind platforms. They don't care. They're in it for the money. Some people think they're going to provide something good. But as fishermen and farmers, we know that it has to provide more good than the bad that it causes. And I just don't see that with offshore wind.
Today we were 20 nautical miles south of Nantucket on the southern end of the Vineyard Wind offshore site, where fixed offshore turbines are being placed in the same location where a blade from AW-38 fell off in July.
Guy giving us our first look now at what's left of a wind turbine off the coast of Nantucket.
Pieces of the turbine's blade have been falling into the ocean since Saturday. Chunks of debris and fiberglass continue to wash up on Nantucket's south shore.
It hasn't even operated yet. We have a windmill that hasn't operated that's already lost a blade. Shards of fiberglass and foam have been spread from Montauk up into Buzzards Bay, Vineyard Sound, inside the breakwater at Point Judith. We were walking down the beach. We had found a piece of foam on the beach.
Get ready, Montauk. I've been on the beach since east of the trailer park. And if you're looking for size comparison, these things are heavy. It's not like your classic, styrofoam peanuts that dissolve.
This is a fiberglass shard. Yeah. Very, very sharp. It was in my hands for days. Okay, this is on our beach.
Wow. Yeah. This is a democracy. This is a democracy.
Hey, we're not observing the process.
Illegal to dump that.
How did you get this far in life without learning how to behave in public?
How about you? I'm showing you what I found on my beach.
Are we listening to you? We're not here to talk to you. Are we listening to you, ma'am?
This is a fiberglass shard. This is all over the beaches.
If you don't have a question, if you want to have your own forum, please don't touch her. But don't.
That's all I'm saying. Disrespect, sir. Disrespect.
That's what I think is the sort of underlying point that you're making, which is that
this belligerent thug attempting to intimidate citizens at a public meeting turned out to be prominently featured on the homepage of a campaign website for none other than Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. That's the offshore wind lobby in action for you.
Just hoping that by doing this today, the public sees a little bit more than they have been. Having issues with local news, national news, you'll get small little blips, but I don't think anybody's really showing what we're going to see today. It'll draw public awareness so that folks that aren't able to get out on the ocean, or they don't live near the ocean, or can somewhat grasp the situation that we're facing. It's not just ours because we're fishermen. It's ours as a country. This is our ocean. We happen to make a living off it. It's very important to us, but it's also very important to everyone else. And maybe this will connect folks that aren't near the ocean, who haven't seen what could go wrong.
When people think of windmills, they think of the little nice, cute little wooden windmill in the backyard on the farm that they go by, you know. These are massive turbines. One blade, destruction in multiple states, you know. It doesn't sit right with me. I'm concerned that there's whales dying everywhere. I'm concerned that I'm losing area that I can fish in. I just have a lot of concerns of what's going on in the ocean where I make my livelihood.
We're concerned citizens, commercial fishermen, recreational fishermen. This is where we fed your families here in this country. That hard, healthy product, when you sat around with your families enjoying the bounty of the sea, this is where it came from. And now it's gone. The environment's changed. This was sand bottom, squid, butterfish, mackerel. Cetaceans used to use this area. You know, now we're directly impacting it. It's like going to a landlocked citizen and asking them, how do you feel about me cutting down the rainforest? This is my rainforest you're cutting down. This is thousands of fishermen and lobstermen across our coast. This is our rainforest. This is where we bring that resource to you, the landlocked citizen. And now we can't.
The amount of wind turbines that are planned for the East Coast at this point is going to very nearly displace the whole commercial fishing industry. I've got two sons that are fishermen. I want them to do as well or better than I did. You know, I want them to be able to feed their family. I want them to be able to have a comfortable home. I want their children, you know, to be able to participate in things that help them learn and grow.
My father was a fisherman. My uncles were fishermen. My brother's a fisherman. I'm a fisherman. I bought this boat 5 years ago with a partner, and the plan is to leave this to our children and give them a step up in the future. But we see it all being took away from us, really, as millions of acres of ocean are being taken away without any regard to us. Zero regard to the fishermen.
We don't want to see that taken away from anybody. We don't want to see any opportunity lost for something that just doesn't show the promise that we think it should.
They're like, oh, we'll compensate the fishermen, but you got to jump through about 1,000 hoops in order to qualify, and then you got to sign off that you'll never be against us again, you know? I'm not about to do that.
People aren't looking at the impacts of these towers on the ocean itself and on the bottom of the ocean. The ocean bottom is never going to be the same. The biggest scare for me as a fisherman is that what they're planning is too fast of a change for fish or marine mammals to adapt to. Over geologic time, what we're planning to do is very fast. We've had events that were fast that have wiped out whole species. Is this going to be one of them? Is this too fast? Can marine mammals adapt this quickly? You know, typically species adapt over millennia, not over a decade. That's a very rapid time to adapt. They're going to drive these huge pilings into the ocean. You're going to surround them with rock. I don't think they realize how complex the ocean is and how complex the relationship between the ocean, the atmosphere, the land, you know, they all interact together. We've already built a lot of turbines in the North Sea. We've built them in other places in the world. They're not faring particularly well there either. They haven't brought the cost of electricity down. What makes us think it's going to work here? My electric bill has doubled in the last 4 years. Some of it is because we're subsidizing things like this that don't work.
In the 24 years I've been captain of a boat, this is by far the slowest summer we've ever had. We went from last summer and the summer previous was the two biggest lalago squid years we ever had in history. And then this year will end up being probably the worst lalago squid. And we also have a lot of installation going on. There's a lot of ships. There's a lot of surveying going on. My career is minimal compared to some of my elders that I've looked up to my whole life. And they're claiming the same thing. So it's definitely cause for alarm right now.
The whale deaths, I'm no scientist. I can't say absolutely. Them guys over there killed the whales, but I can tell you there's only one thing that's changed. One thing that's changed, because I've been out here 40 years. It's having a hard time being a viable fishery right now. We should have had squid up here on the beach this year. 0 squid. You know, scallops have been abundant, keeping us as the #1 port in the country for over 20 years. All of a sudden, there's no scallops. All of it's concerning to me, and I keep going back to, in my head, I keep saying, only one thing has changed. I know it's not from overfishing, because we have done it. We've formed coalitions of our own to work with national marine fisheries and to responsibly fish. We've made closed areas where small scallops were protected so that in the future we could always have something to harvest. And doing our part, it was working fine. Now you bring in wind farms, all of a sudden we got clappers everywhere, empty shells, no meats in them. Sea bass are affected, scup are affected, squid are affected. What happens when you got no squid? Then you don't have any fluke. Everything out here is a predator fish, right? Everything eats something else. They chase what they eat. If the thing they eat doesn't show up, then the next stock doesn't show up, and it makes for an awful hard year.
We really hope that this is just an off year because it's an off year, but then you don't know. Maybe next year could be the next worst year, and it's because the squid migration pattern has changed. We're not seeing any squid spawn. Normally, you'll see spawn all summer. That's what the squid are coming to do up here.
We went through this when we industrialized the land. We've changed it beyond recognition. You know, they want to say we caused global warming. Well, if we did, why are we going to continue to make more changes in an area that we really have not sullied yet? Why are we going to go do that? To me, it would make more sense to slow down, be a little more prudent, rather than stick it out and say, gee, I hope this works. You don't throw 4-ball tires on your car and say, gee, I hope I can make it to New York. You know what I mean? You don't. You wait a while until you can get new tires and be sure you'll make it to New York. So we should do that with this.
This environment, if it was left alone, people could have worked on here every generation and the next generation. The same jobs we've been doing since before the start of the country, providing wild, hard, healthy product. This is a shame. It's a true crime.
The amount of money that's involved with this entire operation is mind-boggling. To see how much diesel fuel is being used, you know, windmill products, the blades, the tubes. If it was something that I thought would actually help us and something that I thought would actually work, I'd be a lot more arms open to the idea. You know, so this year we saw colder water down our way also than we normally have bottom temp. And squid don't like to come up and breed if the water temperature is not correct. So the climate change end of things for this summer, you know, we're seeing colder water, we're seeing colder water fish. I've tried to explain to a few folks, you know, through conversations that the water's cold down our way right now. Combating climate change is a great idea. Destroying an ocean is not a great idea.